All right, folks, in this next topic, we're going to go over the FXOS and Firepower Device Manager, just some additional management options that are going to be available depending upon your platform or your management needs at the time. But I want to be very clear, let's not forget from some of the previous topics, and especially as we move forward, Firepower Management Center, the physical appliance or virtual appliance for centralized enterprise management is going to be our focus in these topics and in these recordings. Anyways, with that being said, let's back up. The first thing we're going over is officially the FXOS, or Firepower Extensible Operating System. Most important thing, if you ask me on this slide, is that it's only required for the 4100 series and 9300 series, again, FP being firepower. So these 4100 series and 9300 series appliances, it allows us to monitor the physical hardware, even go in and do interface configuration changes, our ability for certain applications like Radware VDP management, configure boot images, define various boot images. As we mentioned a moment ago, interfaces and port channels, even set up hardware clustering between multiple different appliances. We have an entire topic coming up a little bit later on clustering. We can do some entry-level packet capturing, and the management of this operating system is all going to be REST API based. Now, you've heard me say this a couple of times in a couple of other videos. API is application to program interface, application to programming interface, depending upon what book you pick up. APIs have been around for quite a while. I still remember seeing my first API back in early 90s. But one of the problems with APIs since their inception is that they were not often standard, not well documented, not fully capable. Well, folks, please understand these APIs are standard-based, what is referred to as representational state transfer or RESTful APIs. So again, industry standard APIs for device management. Now, continuing on with another management option, of course, we are all familiar with the command line access into these, for example, 4100 series and 9300 series Firepower appliances. But folks, we also have our Firepower Chassis Manager down here. Once again, giving us hardware chassis-based management, only used for chassis functions, not for actual day-to-day management of the threat defense device. Again, for day-to-day management, really what we want to do is go to the Firepower Management Center. So now we're continuing on here into some of the different roles that the FXOS, the Firepower Extensible Operating System, plays. Folks, I love to repeat myself very, very seriously, especially when you're learning, repetition is key. So one more time, manages interfaces, the ability to manage our images, our operating system images, hardware status. We literally have the ability to go in and install ASA images on this appliance, and even Firepower threat defense images. So management of images on the appliance. And then, as we said before, our cluster configuration. Just keep in mind where we really want to be. Repetition is key, if you ask me. Again, is the Firepower Management Center, which is going to be able to manage all of our security devices. Remember, again, this conversation with FXOS is only on the 4100 series and the 9300 series. So this is going to give us the ability, the FMC, Firepower Management Center, to manage all of our devices and device roles, device interfaces, event correlation. One more time, where we want to be for our management. But keep in mind, we have other management options. So again, our on-box Firepower Device Manager. Our real focus in this set of videos here, the Firepower Management Center, one more time, physical appliance or virtual appliance, and even multinational, geographically dispersed, cloud-based management with Cisco's Defense Orchestrator. And some of you might be thinking, hey, wait a minute, this slide looks very, very familiar to me. I hope it does. It was a slide that we went over a couple of topics ago when we were introducing the different management options. So before I move forward, let me just back up one more time. All this is doing is helping us understand, where does the Firepower Device Manager option fit in the big scheme of management options. And very, very simply put, folks, it's going to be on-box management of the local appliance, not scalable, not enterprise approach, but also getting us out of a certain jam, maybe in an initial bootstrapping of the device. So one more time, Firepower Device Manager features, once again, only for the threat defense software, so the software image loaded on the physical appliance. Please note the 2100 series, next generation firewall virtual series, and our 5500 series X ASAs. Folks, as we said earlier, RESTful based APIs. Thankfully, this is going to make a lot of us very, very happy. No Java needed. And again, some of you probably agree with me when we say that Java is a four-letter word, literally and figuratively. And then please note, often for home user features of, again, a subset of the options, base deployment, base management. And for me, one of the things that I don't like the most is no historical data, no historical events database for gathering history, correlating events. That's again going to be something we do inside of our Firepower Management Center. And then please note, speaking of Firepower Management Center, if you're going to add this appliance to be managed by FMC, you do not have the Firepower Device Manager management as an option. And then getting into the user experience or the way the GUI looks inside of Firepower Device Manager. So once again, all HTML-based, RESTful API-based. Again, our base configuration, base monitoring, local events, but very, very limited local events. Folks, very small office, home office if you ask me, so an easy setup wizard. Some default policies that we can continue with, or we can of course go in and modify them from there. Please note this is more user-focused, not something giving us a lot of security options that a security expert might be looking to. So once again, small office, home office, small scale deployment in this scenario. And then please note, I love this one because this kind of makes me chuckle a little bit. Absolutely, this on-box management option does not have feature parity with the Firepower Management Center. No way even close. And then we finish up this subject by doing a quick compare between Firepower Management Center and again our on-box management. Please note all these red X's. Again, no, we don't have the ability for a security intelligence feature that we're going to talk about a little bit later. No, we do not have the ability for decrypting of SSL, for offering quality of service, or doing identity-based network services. And folks, I'm going to go ahead and stop there, but please note again quite a bit of red X's that are not available in on-box management, but that is available in, again, the Firepower Management Center. Last but not least, enabling the local on-box management, on-box management, you can do this a couple of different ways. Number one is when you're initially deploying the appliance. So you might remember in our last topic, our last recording, we talked about, for example, doing a console connection or even a keyboard and monitor directly on the appliance and doing a command line deployment. Well, one of our first questions was, do you want to manage the device locally? And in the last topic, we said no, because we wanted this appliance to be managed by Firepower Management Center. Well, folks, here we would choose yes, but let me pause for a moment. For those of you who have a background in Cisco, especially CLI, command line interface, you may already know that when I see my two options here, if there is something in the brackets, that's going to be the default option. So all you have to do is hit the enter key and bada bing, you've got this answer. Or sometimes you might have to go in and actually type out yes or no. But again, keep in mind in this case, being that yes is in those square brackets, that's going to be our default option. So if this is what we want, we just hit enter. Now you might also remember from that last topic that we just recorded, you may have just watched, again, you can do the configure manager command and we can go to local to once again have the on-box management, the Firepower Device Manager, as opposed to Firepower Management Center. And the last but not least, this subject right here, it's important to know for your smaller, let's say the ASA 5500 100 series X's. For some of your smaller ASAs, let's say 5506, they actually have a switch integrated into the back of them, which is ideal for small office, home office, so you do not have to bother installing another separate physical switch for connecting, I want to stress, a small number of devices to. But before we move on and finish up this topic, I just want to say again, if you ask me, we have two different things that we're talking about in this slide. Thing number one, which is how can I decide if I want to use the on-box management only? And then thing number two, subject number two, which is, hey, don't forget your smaller 5505 ASAs, have an integrated switch, layer 2 switch for small number of connections in small office and home office type deployments. So folks, thank you very much for watching. This was simply our review of some on-box management options, but keeping in mind we have the lion's share of our discussion in these video series is going to be on the Firepower Management Center, centralized enterprise management of your security devices. Once again, thanks for watching.